Greetings, brethren. Donkey here, and I finally got around to making a army showcase for my Oathmark Undead. So this was a project that I started in, I think it was 2020, and yeah, it must have been 2020. And basically, I just wanted to have an army that I could play my goblin army against. And so I decided to just quickly paint up some undead. It was pretty much right when the Oathmark skeletons came out, and I decided, you know, they'd be wonderful for speed painting. And so within, I think it was November that I started, and the first thing I painted were these zombies. I'll show everything closer in a second. And yeah, I like them. And these are the, again, I'll show them closer, but these are the Fireforge games, Living Dead Peasants, whatever, from their Forgotten Realms. Is it called Forgotten Realms? Whatever, their fantasy thing. It's those zombies. And they're stand-ins for ghouls in Oathmark, because Oathmark doesn't really have zombies. And I didn't want to look around too long for ghoul models. If I was going to redo this army, I would probably use Moria goblins from the Hobbit range from Games Workshop. I think they look really cool as ghouls, but it's too late now. Yeah, and then most of the skeletons. So this entire battle line over here with the archers. And those archers and those skeletons right here, and these two units, which I will also show closer. I painted all of that up in December, and I just went through all of the skeletons basically in just one fell swoop. Then I painted a second regiment of zombies right here. I think that was in January of 2021, and then I also painted a catapult. These ogres right here, and oh yeah, and this monster, and then a whole bunch of characters. So all the single characters that you see standing around here, all those were also painted in January. And then the next thing I wanted to do was a contingent of revenants, but I wasn't sure what models to use, how to do them, etc., etc. So that project just kind of kept being pushed off and off and off. They're finished now, as you can see right there. This contingent right here, this is the Revenants. But it took me a long time. I only finished them, I think in February of this year. So basically this project had sat around unfinished for 2 years, which is something I hate. I really like finishing projects. So yeah, oh well. Right, I'm just gonna go in for some closer shots. Also, if you see any of the mess in the background, just ignore it. I'm currently super stressed with deadlines and everything. Also, any sounds are from the open window. So, yeah. Right, let me just get this sorted. I hate this tripod. It is a terrible, terrible tripod. There we go. So. Right, I'm just going to move this over right here, and we're going to have a closer look at these revenants. So what I decided in the end is that I was going to use the Warriors of the Dead from the Middle-earth range. Does that do anything when I do this? No, it does not do anything. That's fine. I was hoping that it would give some extra lighting. Lighting in this room is always kind of terrible, sadly, so we're just going to have to deal with that. So yeah, I decided to use the Middle-earth range Warriors of the Dead, as you can see. I will put some stills at the end of this video, where you can see them a little bit better, because you know, I have not shown them on the channel yet. And yeah, the Warriors of the Dead come with pretty much fixed weapons. So these are a bit more of what they usually look like right here. Some of them have hand weapons and shields, some of them have spears. And basically what I did is I turned a whole bunch of these sprues. I basically separated them between the shield and the non-shield guys. So as you can see, those are my warriors, Revenant warriors. And, voila, there we go. And I basically just took all the ones that were very obviously hand weapon fellas and made a unit of warriors. And then this one over here, that's a unit of Revenant Linebreakers. And I used all the ones that were either carrying spears. You can see, let me just take off this one. And off he goes. Well, we'll just take the next one. So this one was modeled carrying a spear. And I basically just chopped that off and put an axe head on it. I think this axe head specifically is from the Frostgrave Barbarians kit. I think most of the weapons actually that I used for the Linebreakers are from that kit. This one as well was carrying a spear in one hand. And can we get a focus? Can we get a focus? Hello? No? No focus? Okay, that's fine. Why would you ever do that for me? Hello. There we go. Yeah, so he was carrying a spear one-handed and was supposed to have a shield in the other. And I once again chopped off the spear just above his hand and put, I think this was a one-handed hammer from that same kit, and I just put the head on, and I think it looks fine as a two-handed weapon. And yeah, that's really how I went about chopping these up. I didn't really do too much, as you can see with this one, for example. Actually, I may just pull him off. He was also one carrying a one-handed weapon, and him. Oh, come on. Hello. No. Oh, there we go. With him, I gave him a hand from the Fireforge Games Living Dead Knights kit. So he has a skeleton hand, because I really liked the wood texture on the thing that he was carrying, and then just added another axe head again. So yeah, very, very simple conversions. And then each regiment has one of the heralds from the Middle-earth set. And again, you'll see it better in the stills at the end, but I painted these not as ghosts. That was my whole sort of thing. Because if you look at these, if you look at those models, they are perfectly fine to just paint them up regularly. You don't have to make them ghosts. They're not. There's nothing in particular about them that really makes them ghosts unless you paint them that way. Sure, they have lots of flowing clothes, which kind of helps with the ghost illusion, but in the end, you can just paint them regularly, and that's what I did. And I think they came out fine. They're a bit, the colors are a bit bright, but I kind of didn't want all of my undead army to be super drab. And as you can see right there, on the zombies are pretty drab. I used mostly, grays and browns and off reds, off blues, things like that. So they're very, very sort of muted, and I kind of wanted the revenants to just stand out a little bit more. So they have some turquoises and purples, mostly more turquoises on the warriors, and then more purple on the Linebreakers, just to distinguish those two units a little bit as well. And then we have two chariots. So with the chariots, I also was really thinking, how was I going to do them? But in the end, what I decided to do is I got one kit of Fireforge Games Living Dead Knights, which I told you with the other ones, I used a lot of the arms for the Linebreakers and stuff. And then the horses I used for the chariots. This guy is also parts of that kit, but not entirely. The body is actually came with the chariot, because this chariot is a Victrix Gallic chariot, and his body is from that kit as well, if you can see it. And all I did is chop off the arms that were on that kit, and gave him Living Dead Knight skeleton arms, and I put a skeleton head from that kit on him as well. And I think he looks great as an undead charioteer. Yeah. That Gallic chariot kit is really great for anyone who wants to make like Oathmark chariots. I think you could use that for practically any race. I think human chariots would look great with that. Goblin chariots, orc chariots, like maybe some minor adjustments in like things that you put on them, but you can make them look absolutely fantastic, I think, for pretty much any faction. So yeah, I also stuck the dog from the Living Dead Knight set on here as well, because this fella right here with the flag is actually a Revenant captain on chariot. So I wanted to put the dog on there to you know, I don't know, the captain has a doggy as well, not just a chariot. And then the other chariot is a little bit simpler, because I wanted to sort of distinguish them. The rider, the charioteer, once again, is the body of the Gallic charioteer from the kit, with skeleton arms, but they're a little bit more, you know, he looks a little bit more regular skeleton. And then the guy on the back, that's from the Oathmark Skeleton Champions blister. He's an archer champion, which is probably one of the most useless things in the game. Oathmark undead archers are not great, and they're so not great that giving them a champion is very, very silly. So yeah, I have no use for him ever. I mean, I have a bunch of skeleton archer units, but I'm never going to give them a champion. So I thought I'd put him on the chariot, because he you know, you can equip the chariots with an archer to give them a ranged attack. And I thought he'd make a perfect figure for that, because he kind of looks a bit special, I suppose. So yeah, that is that. So that's the Revenant contingent of the army. Not a lot of figures, just, you know, the bare minimum, really. I wanted to have one warrior unit and one linebreaker unit. If you were to, you know, think about actual game power, which I don't usually do, you'd probably want nothing but linebreakers, because the warriors aren't actually that great. The warriors are just kind of weaker linebreakers, because they don't, for some reason, all of the undead units, they don't get benefits from shields, so their defense isn't as high as a warrior defense should be. They still have less movement, and they have less fight than these guys. Sure, they're a little bit cheaper, but it's really not that worth it. However, I don't really care about that. I just want to have cool-looking armies, and I thought having a Revenant warrior unit was kind of mandatory for what I was trying to achieve with my army. Then in the back here, just going off some of the other models, this one is a Wraith from Reaper. This is, I believe, a Wendigo from Reaper. Not sure what he's going to be in Oathmark. Some kind of monster, probably. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it too much. Probably a weaker monster, because I don't really like the crazy ones like the Sumra and things like that. It's a bit too much for me. I just kind of want, you know, fun monsters. Then this one right here is, I think I've shown him off on the channel, I'm sure, but it was back in 2020. So yeah, this is my Lich. He's the leader of my army, so he's going to be Necromancer level 3 or 4. And he's going to get the Lich upgrade. And yeah. Right, let's scooch over into the center, where we have some of the more eclectic miniatures, I suppose. So that catapult on the hill, I'm pretty sure is also Reaper. It's a skeleton catapult from Reaper, and I did nothing to it. I just based it up exactly the way it was with the crew, and that's my skeleton light catapult. Then again, we have the ghouls here, which are made from the Fireforge Living Dead peasants. And to make the box contents work, because I think you only get 18, and obviously I wanted to have 2 units of 20. Um, or do you get 19? I don't remember, but you definitely don't get enough, and that's why I have that guy bursting out of the ground. And the way I did that is you get extra arms and heads in the kit, and so I just put down a sort of a length of sprue on the base that I used sort of as his upper torso, and then I put the head on top and the arms against it. And then when basing it, I basically hid the sprue bit with ground cover, but you still kind of need it because otherwise, the arms and heads aren't sticking to anything, and it just kind of looks like he's being sucked into the ground, because he's sort of like hanging in there. So giving him that extra height actually makes it look like there's someone crawling out of the grave. Yeah, I think they came out really well, and this was sort of my first experiment with doing skin tones with contrast. So I think this is contrast. I mean, they were pretty new at that time. I believe it's Gilliman flesh. I don't know. It's one of the contrast flesh colors, and then on top of it is a dark sort of military green wash. I think it's a Thonian camo shade, but a military shader from Army Painter will do the same thing, and it gives it sort of this sickly, dead, rotting color, this sort of brown greenish color. And I really like it. And the rest is my sort of speed painting method that I will no longer be using because it's eerily similar to Slap Chop, and I hate all of that speed painting stuff that's going around YouTube, so I will be conceding and moving on from that method. Yeah, then we have skeletons, which I have so many of. Yeah, I'm never going to play all of the skeletons, I think. I have 5 full regiments, so 100 skeleton soldiers and spearmen. The banners I made myself. They're sort of an experiment. This is something that I'm working on turning into part of my business. I want to make flags because there's not really that many, sources of them on the continent anymore. Now that if you want to buy these flags from England, you have to pay import mostly. And so I'm gonna start making these flags. And this was just kind of an experiment to see what can be done. And these sort of standards, they don't really suit or lend themselves to paper flags that well, is what I've realized. But it's all part of the process. Right, then we have Skeleton Champion, both from the Oathmark blisters. And then the 2 most interesting units in the army probably is the Skeleton Ogres, which I'm playing as trolls because I think they have their rules are a bit more appropriate for Undead, in my opinion. And these are from Ralpartha. I don't exactly remember who sculpted these. I think it might have been Bob Ollie, but I'm not sure. But yeah, they're fantastic models, and I bought. There's really only 2 sculpts, sadly. So these 2 are the same, but I modified this one. So this one is how you. Let me just grab them. So this left one is how he originally looks with the horned helmet. I'll just do this so we can get a bit of a zoom. So he has this sort of horned helmet, and then a club. And then the other one, I just snipped off the horn and, made it look like he has some sort of weird makeshift pickaxe. And I think that already makes him different enough from the other guy. And then I also sort of posed them slightly different. So I think they look different enough to sort of fool the eye at first glance. And that's really all that's needed, I think. And then we have this unit right here. I have 2 of these. This is once again a Reaper Wraith, I believe, or a Reaper Ghost, something like that. I just wanted to have a Wraith or a Ghost or something with a scythe, so that's what I bought. And then a whole bunch of these giant rats from North Star military figures. I don't think they're they're not part of the Oathmark range. I think they might be part of the Frostgrave range, but they're metal. I don't know. I'm not even sure if they're part of the Frostgrave range, but yeah, they're what they are. And this is basically, this unit in game is an Elven Huntmaster. So, you know, usually you have the Elven Huntmaster with a bunch of hunting dogs, and in this case we have a Wraith with a bunch of rats, which I just thought was a cool addition to the Undead army. Because, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I wanted to have more than just skeletons and revenants and things, you know. So let me just come over here. And just give you another just quick glance at all of the skeletons. Again, I'm never going to play all of these skeletons. It's way too many. And there you can see, I actually do possess some skeleton archers. They're really terrible in-game, so I don't know if I'm ever even going to play 20 of them, but well, you know. I wanted to have some, and I didn't want to have another, because, you know, I wanted to have 100... skeleton soldiers and spearmen, and the boxes come with 30 of them. So, you know, it was either going to be I had 90, which I didn't like, so I would have 2 units of 15, or I had 20 extra, and I didn't want to do another 20 spearmen or whatever. So, yeah, I decided to just make 20 archers, and yeah, that's okay. Then right there. Whoop. Right there is my other Necromancer, also from the Oathmark range. And then behind here is something a little bit special. These are skeleton archers that I built from the Wargames Atlantic skeleton kit, the sort of classic fantasy thing that they have, where, you know, the skeletons are a bit more Harryhausen, and are sort of meant to be sort of Greek skeletons. Just up. So there you go. The reason I only have one, like, this was just an experiment basically, because I really like the Oathmark skeletons, so I didn't feel like you know, I needed a whole lot of these, but I just wanted to try them out. But I only have one unit, and I don't think I'm really going to play them that much, because I know it's not going to focus, but look at the scale of these two. Let me just see if we can get a zoomed in view. There you go. I mean, you know, I'm not usually a stickler for scale, but in this case I think it is a bit extreme. I mean, if you use the Wargames Atlantic skeletons as your human skeletons, you could probably use the Oathmark ones as dwarf skeletons next to them. It's a lot. Yeah, so I only have one unit of the Wargames Atlantic guys. I had them built. I didn't want to like throw them away, so I painted them up. And, you know, as long as you keep them a little bit separate, you know, as you can see, if you keep them a little bit separate, it doesn't really, you know, someone has to kind of mention it for you to really notice. But once you notice, you can't really unsee it. And yeah, it would be worse if I had a lot of them. So yeah, that's pretty much the whole army. Let me just give you another overview. It's also a really long video, so we should be done soon. Sorry for the noises, but this tripod is just the worst. It needs to be thrown in the garbage. But yeah, I really enjoyed painting this army. I must say the Revenants were a bit of a slog at the end there, because I don't know, I was just kind of done with the whole thing at this point. I just kind of wanted to be completely finished and just, you know, have this army ready to play with, but yeah, it's still been really enjoyable, and now seeing it all on the table is pretty excellent, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I'm really happy with it, and I can't wait to have them fighting my Oathmark goblins or any other Oathmark armies that might come in the future. Or maybe if I ever find other people who also want to play Oathmark, then, you know, have them face their Oathmark armies. So yeah. Just really, really happy with this. And I sure hope that by the end of this year I'm going to be able to do the same thing with my Goblin army. There are still a few things I have to paint for that, but I think that one will look even more impressive when it's on the table. Because there's just, I don't know, there's just so many more interesting unit types with that army. Because in the end this is still mostly skeletons, zombies, and revenants, but, you know. Alright. Nope, I wanted to zoom out. Hope you enjoyed this look at my Oathmark Undead army. I think they look fantastic, and they're gonna look great once they are actually in battle. I will probably have a sort of battle report on the channel soon. I'm working on that. I'm sort of, you know, still finicking around with some rules that I want to use for the game, and then do like a solo game. So look forward to that. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's really long. If you made it all the way through, then enjoy the pictures at the end of the Revenants. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I hope I'll see you again in another video. Take care, guys.